Welcome to Business on Purpose, the podcast for hardworking entrepreneurs who drive our economy. I'm your host, Barry Barrett, and as a sales leader and business owner, I understand the challenges that come with entrepreneurship. Each episode, I am interviewing business owners who have faced the same struggles you have. Low revenue, a lack of scalability in their sales force. Together, we're going to explore their entrepreneurial journey and uncover the valuable lessons they've learned along the way. From mentors to advice, we'll dive deep into what has helped these business owners get unstuck and move forward towards success. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned entrepreneur, the podcast is for you. Be sure and follow and subscribe to this podcast as we learn from the experiences of successful business owners and navigate the road to entrepreneurship together. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. We are here with Kim Garmon Hummel. She is with Sauce Marketing out of Memphis, Tennessee. She is one of the great entrepreneurs that I've worked with in the past and also in the current. So welcome to the show, Kim. How are you today?
Thanks, Barry. I'm doing great today. And we are actually Sauce Agency now. We've expanded our services well beyond marketing, and officially on the 1st of this year, we became Sauce Agency.
Good for you. So she changes so much that even her implementer isn't aware of all the changes. So I really appreciate that. That's one of the things that I love about Sauce is you're innovative, which I would want my marketing team to be innovative, right? I would want someone like you to be creative and innovative. Let's say it that way. So good.
Absolutely.
You are what you live, and I appreciate that. So tell the listeners, how did you get your start, Kim?
My start is probably not a traditional story, but maybe it is for entrepreneurs. I started in 2006 doing photography. I bought a camera because I had taken my children to picture people and they wanted a whole lot of money for some photos that sucked. And I thought, for that amount of money, I can just buy a camera and do this myself. So that's what I did. And it turned out I was really good at taking photos. So people started asking me to take photos of their kids, and I very quickly realized that I do not want to take pictures of other people's children. I cannot tell them to sit down and shut up, or I'm going to fill in the blank. So you're going to lose your Xbox or whatever the thing is.
Right.
Can't do that with other people's kids, and probably shouldn't. But what I did realize is that I liked to take photos of like grown-ups for their headshots for business. And so I started doing that on the side of my day job. And I had to build myself a website to to advertise that. And so I built myself a website. And then the next thing I know, those business owners and entrepreneurs that I was taking photos of wanted to know if I could build them a website. So I started doing that. And they wanted this, that, and the other. And at some point, I took a step back and went, they're really piecemealing all of this stuff. And that doesn't make any sense because it's not strategic and there's tons of missed opportunities here and they really need a more strategic approach. So I started pursuing, how can I do that? How can I be more strategic about this? And one thing led to another. And in 2015, Megan, who is now our front-end developer and designer, came on board. A few weeks later, Ashley, our now operations director, came on board. About a year later, Millie, our client success and success manager, came on board. Of course, none of us were in those roles at that point. We were all doing everything and really stressed out trying to. And a few years went by, maybe not quite couple years, and just kept pursuing, how can we do this better? How can we do this better? How can we get better results for our clients? How can we get better results for ourselves? And in 2017, we decided to become HubSpot partners. So we joined the HubSpot partner solutions partner program, and we're still a HubSpot solutions partner today and learned a ton there. There's just so much wisdom and knowledge on how to grow a business. And oddly enough, very early in that journey, I was at Inbound I think it was 2017. And I was standing in line waiting for a cocktail or something. It was like a schmoozy, like meet with people and get to know them.
Yeah.
And the guy behind me started telling me about this book called Traction that I really needed to read. And at that point, I was like, not physically, but like mentally carrying a stack of books that I did not have time to read.
Yeah.
And Traction went like on the bottom. Okay, it's on the
Yeah.
list, but I had
Hmm.
no idea how important it was that I get to it sooner.
Yeah.
Uh, and let's see, in 2021, we became a story brand agency. And at the same time, we realized that the combination of story brand and HubSpot methodology was really going to allow us to like level up and scale up in a way that we weren't prepared to support.
Mm.
And I remembered traction, and we
Yeah.
started looking into that again. And I think that even Ashley, who was our integrator until Sean came on board, I think she brought it up again. Even she found it and she was like, we need to look into this. And so I was like, oh yeah, that book. So we read the book, and then we started trying to have a leadership team, and that was a mess trying to do that yourself.
Mm.
Do not self-implement. If you're listening to this and you're thinking about self-implementing, I would highly recommend that you do not do that.
Yeah.
So then we were like, yeah, this is not working, but we really think it's us, not the system. So let's find somebody who can help us do it. And
Yeah.
that's when we got hooked up with you.
Yeah.
And we've just really been ever since just investing in how can we do this better. And I think that's the name of the game from here forward always is,
Yeah.
okay, we got it this far. How can we do this better?
Yeah, no, I'm super proud of all of you, the growth that you've had. We've done a lot of learning together.
Thank
We've
you.
done it's been a fantastic journey in my opinion. And one of the things, I've got a client that is the photo mentorship, David Molnar. He just wrote a book. It's funny. I don't think I remember you starting your journey with photography. And so what he does is he teach people not only to, he's got an online course, not only to help people learn how to take better photos, but he also teaches people if they want he has a program to teach them how to monetize and be a photographer, which is fantastic to see how two of my clients can work out. There is no typical entrepreneurial story. And the only thing you gave the typical, I'll put that in air quotes, entrepreneurial story about you had one thing that you started with, and then you said, if I can do that, I can probably do this next thing and probably do this next thing, and just jump off the cliff, build your wings on the way down. And here you are, call it the 20-year overnight success. People see people you after the 20th year and they're like, oh, this new company called Sauce Agency. And you're like, maybe it's new. I don't know, but good. I love to hear that. What I heard also was you had a series of mentors, and it seemed to start with you had I guess a mentor. HubSpot would be part of your mentor. I know you paid for that. Story brand. Tell me about what you learned from them. Tell me about that journey.
I would be remiss if I did not mention the mentors that came before that.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So when I first started, I didn't understand the value of what I was doing. I was just trying to help people. And Sean, my now business partner, literally grabbed me by the shoulders and said, you don't understand your value, and I'm going to help you understand your value.
Yeah.
And she's a sales guru. When we merged, her business before this was the selling agency, and they specialize in skills building and working with sales teams and setting up systems and processes and things like that. So it was a marriage made in heaven because HubSpot has a sales hub, and she brought things to the table that we were weak in, and we brought things to the table that she was weak in, and we made each other stronger. Anyway, that's not what you asked about.
That's all right.
So Sean literally shook me and said, you don't know what you're. And
good for her.
I met her because I had been invited into a program that a local entrepreneur was putting on called the Professional Boost Program. I don't even think it's still around, but it connected me with some ladies that believed in me and invested in me, either for my services, or one of them even paid for me to go through that program because it wasn't free, and then stayed a client for a long time. And just those mentors and pushing me off the cliff, or at least towards the edge of it, as you mentioned. And then NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners, was our local chapter, was also pretty integral to just showing me the way, like helping me find the courage to step over the line of fear that gets drawn in front of you daily as a business owner, that you have to choose to step over every day if you want to keep moving forward. And then HubSpot, I would say, it was the linchpin in building those wings after we jumped off the cliff. And Story Brand has been, surprisingly, this is not why people use Story Brand, but for us, I would say that the best thing that we've gotten out of it as an agency is the common language that it brought and it removed some subjectivity to how to create story and what is good and what is effective.
Yeah.
And then gave us a place to start with a minimum viable product and then improve it from there using real user data, which is what matters.
Data, because nothing else matters. StoryBrand. I became a fan of StoryBrand when Donald Miller first came out with the book. I read it. I see the lens. I see the life through the lens of sales. And I thought, absolutely, this marketing thing is exactly how you can sell using the hero's journey. I adopted that as far when I saw it. And then later I found out it came from Nancy Duarte. Originally, he gave her credit. I learned that by listening to his podcast, interviewing her. And so that's a great place to start too. Now, you had mentioned that one of your mentors was a women in Nabo. Is that what it is? Okay, Nabo. And you embody the company that really largely is a women-ran owned company. Tell me about that, because I know that they probably helped you understand that. Tell me, did you seek to be a primarily women-ran and women-built company, or did it just happen? Tell me.
I don't think anything just happens. I don't think that's how the universe works.
Yeah.
But it wasn't intentional. We've hired different genders along the way, and they just haven't stuck and stayed for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I think that our culture as a company is very nurturing and very forward thinking when it comes to mental health and making space for the people on the team to be human.
Yeah.
Balancing that with profitability and productivity is difficult and takes a lot of patience. And I think that, being all woman team was not something we ever set out to be. And I don't think it's what we're setting out to be now. It just is what we're attracting because of the culture that we have put in place. But I think as we scale, that will change.
Do you think men just have a hard time with that type of culture? And we would listen, not disparaging, we would call it touchy-feely, right? Like more caring about the human and really understanding who they are, where they're coming from, and their empathy and all the emotions that go with it. Are men just overall? Tell me about that. What do you think?
I don't know. I know plenty of men who are completely in touch with their feelings and able to carry on emotionally intelligent conversations that, it doesn't weird them out. So I don't know that it's as much to do with gender as it is just who has the right skills and fits the culture.
Yeah, I mean, I'm your implementer.
All females right now.
Yeah, I'm your implementer. I'm a dude. And I think I have those inner touch with my feelings. It doesn't always come across, right? And you can disagree, of course.
I think that's absolutely true. And I think that you also have embraced our culture, even though it was, something you had to wrap your head around. Like, is this a good idea?
Yeah.
No, it's not your cup of tea off the first and foremost, but you've embraced it. And you even told us that like it's helped you grow in your worldview. And I think that is the linchpin that makes somebody a good fit for our team is being growth minded and willing to keep pushing themselves. Yes, let's celebrate the victory that we've accomplished here, but let's not become complacent and expect that that's as far as we go in this journey.
I think with my experience with your company, there's worldviews that we have. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we are. I got that from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And that's when I really started doing it. And I'm the type of person that'll go in with an opinion, but be really open to changing that opinion. I feel like I am based on data. It's math, not magic. If you can prove that there's data there that drives this, then I'm all in. And me and you have been in these great, some people might call it a heated debate. I call it open, honest, vulnerable, and healthy. And you and I can disagree without being disagreeable. It's one of the most fun things. And then at the end
isn't that like at the core of EOS?
Yeah.
Don't you have to be able to isn't that literally the IDS portion is the ability to do that?
It is. And that's from the beginning, you and I were doing that. And then I think we modeled that for your team. And then now I think as a team, you guys are doing that, correct?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody has their processing process to get through receiving information and deciding what they want to say about it. Yeah. And sometimes that's a little slower than we would like for those of us that are a little more forthcoming with what we think and willing to backpedal on it later. Yeah. But everybody's contributing, everybody's bringing their ideas to the table and speaking up when they're concerned that the direction we're going in is problematic potentially. Like
Yeah,
it's
that's
great.
good. I often ask people, because it was asked of me, hey, Barry, I bet you're sincere about that belief. And I'm like, yeah. Have you ever been sincerely wrong? And I said, well, yeah. So I started to think about that. I'm always sincere about something, but I have also and am often sincerely wrong about a person. I do, from my own experience. I've got a female ran business. My wife runs this business, and it runs way better than it did when I ran it. And I like that, the fact that it
I
doesn't
agree.
matter. You agree. She was there, just so you know, context. She was there when Nancy was just helping out. She was doing her nurse practitioner thing and also helping me out. And it was not as organized. And now my wife is full time here, and it's way more organized and on spot, right? And
Yes, it
I
is.
think that is not a male female thing. It just happens to be that way. Just to your point earlier, there are equally amount of men who can do the same thing, and we're way past
Mhm.
that as a culture, and I love it. So good. So now, where are you guys today? And first of all, let me ask you this: where have you been stuck, and how did you get past that?
Okay. There are multiple points that, as I reflect back, I would consider feeling like we were stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that having learned a little bit, I realized that we were in the plateau between one scale tier and the next. Like you've
Mm-hmm.
drawn that on our whiteboard, even in the other room, and explained that. But just trying to get from a team of 5 to a team of 10
Mm.
seemed to be difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that what was holding us back, we were to a certain point, like hire ahead of the work and just go, just get it done. But once your team reaches a certain size, which I thought was probably like 10 or 15, you really need documentation and systems and processes that are documented. And I was wrong. It's more like 5 people when you
Yeah.
need to do that. And so we kept going from 5 to 7, 5 to 8, and then losing 3. And then
Mm.
we were back to 5, and then we were at 6, and then we were back to 5. And it finally hit me when, in an exit interview, 2 different employees said, it's just too stressful to pave the road as you go.
Mm.
And at that point, it became very clear that we had to figure out how to alleviate the pressure of paving the road
Mm.
from people who were not tasked with that solely. And we still haven't fully achieved that. We still
Yeah.
have a couple of people who are
So
in split roles, but
let's
I think
let's
just
stop.
getting into that type of place.
Yeah, let's stop right there about paving the road, right?
Mhm.
You're an entrepreneur. It was very natural for you to pave the road. And
Mhm.
what we know is, I think we know, is that most people do not want to be an entrepreneur, and because they don't want to pave the road. So let me ask you, if you're saying now you found out it was 5 people, when should you have began to start to document and outline those processes?
We tried to document and outline the processes. Really, I started from the very beginning because I
Okay.
had worked in other positions where I had to hire someone to take my spot, and
Mm-hmm.
I knew that was important. But the point at which I went sideways was expecting that to be set it and forget it. As the business grows, so too must the process, therefore the system that supports the process and the people who work the process and use the system must all continually be updated. But you can't do that too fast because humans are involved.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are constantly changing, they will get worn out and leave. So it's a matter of starting early, but the first process that you need to make is a process to make processes. And then in that process needs to include the process to update the process as the process changes,
Mm.
and the systems that support the process and roll out that information to the people that work the process so that you're not creating confusion and you are creating clarity.
Yeah, I love that. Isadora Sharp, she said that you have to, and I've used this over and over in our session, is you have to systemize the predictable to humanize the exceptional, right? And you said humans,
Yes.
you got to go slower. And then another one, Seth Godin, the goal can't be quality, not for people anyway, he says. It needs to be humanity, the rough edges of caring and improv and of connection. So that's good. Seth Godin
I
is
think that's very
amazing.
true.
Yeah, and
He
that
is.
describes your
You,
culture, right? What you were talking about earlier. It's people.
yes, 100%. It's about your people, like first and foremost. So we've shifted into
Mm-hmm.
RevOps optimization. So anything that touches generating revenue, and here's the secret, every business is already doing RevOps. So there's all these things out there that say do RevOps. If you have a business, you're already doing it. But if you're not optimizing it, then you're not doing it.
So
So
RevOps,
we've
hold on, because we got
revenue
to catch people.
operations.
Revenue operations. Tell people that aren't familiar with that, because I wasn't familiar with that. So revenue operations, tell me what that means.
Sure. So your product or service gets delivered to your customer.
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to get a new customer, you have a process that you go through to attract, convert, and then delight that customer so that they stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Involved in helping you attract, convert, and delight are your employees. So you also need to focus on providing a great experience to your employees so that they can turn around and provide a great experience to your customers. And it's all a big flywheel.
So we're talking about the experience economy, revenue operations. It's an operation, so it's a process, right? And so that's
Yes.
done by helping everybody else get what they want in a whole circular motion. Is that it?
Yeah, that's a super simplified way to put it.
Love it.
Yeah, so like your sales and marketing in a lot of companies, especially if they've scaled up, are siloed. They're not
Oh,
working
yeah.
together. And they should be, especially with digital in the mix. Like sales and marketing should not be two departments. It should be one
Mm-hmm.
department with
Mm-hmm.
or two very closely connected departments.
Yeah.
And what we do is work with companies to remove those silos, not only between sales and marketing, but also between the service department, because a marketing company or a marketing department can attract new leads and a sales person can close a new lead, but a service person can lose a customer if the whole thing isn't connected really well.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're working with the technology to support keeping everyone aligned and the process and the working with people to help them unpack what they think and get aligned on those things and recognize where they're not. And the whole purpose there is to remove friction for your customer, first and foremost. So I also, this is fun. I don't know if I've told you this. This is another thing that you're out of date on the rebrand. I can't call it an acronym because we've been called SOS for a long time, but
Yeah.
my husband said it's a backronym. SOS now stands for something.
Okay, good. Tell me.
It is strategically aligned user-centric experience.
Love.
The heart of everything we do is about creating a strategically aligned user-centric experience.
I love it. It's an acrostic. Do you know what acrostic is? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love it. So it's alignment. And I tell people sales and marketing are married. They're not cousins.
Mm-hmm.
They're not best friends. They're married. And so they ultimately have the same goal as married people would. And they do similar, not the same things. So marketing captures that attention. Sales converts that attention. And then, yes, we need operations to fulfill on the promises that we made so that we can have really loyal, fantastic clients. Is that good?
And
I love that.
For sure. And let me say this too. There was a time where sales and marketing operated in a way that marketing attracted a lead. They handed it off to sales, worked the lead either to a close or to a loss. That's not what's happening anymore.
Good.
Marketing attracts a lead. They hand it off to sales at some point, depending, it's different for every company.
Mm-hmm.
Sales works it to a close or works it to a point where they say, this person's not ready to buy. Let's hand it back off to marketing so they can nurture them.
That's good. Until they're ready. So then we talk about the 5, you can call them objections. We call them hesitators. The 5 hesitators, because hesitation means something. I'm just hesitant on making a purchase. An objection is like a harsh lopping off of whatever. And we can call it semantics. We can call it whatever you want. But in the 5 hesitators, one of them is time. There's timing. And so if it is literally no time or lack of timing, it's just not right now, handing it back to marketing sounds like a great thing to do because we can work them through the timing of things. And even sometimes I think give them maybe something to start with so that they can get to the place where they can buy from us, or we can help them with whatever their needs are at that point. So they have to grow to a certain point. Is that
Yes.
good?
Yeah,
Love it.
it's guide them from the land of the problem to the land of the solution, but it's not a linear path.
No, it's rarely a linear path. I think that thinking about things linear is the mistake that a lot of us make, and I know I have over and over again. So good. Who are you helping right now? Who, now that you have learned what you've learned over these many years, and who are you mentoring now?
I think that in terms of who am I mentoring, I thought that's not where I thought you were headed with that question. I thought you were headed with who are we working with. I meet occasionally with college students who need to meet with someone in my profession just to talk through and try to give them some advice.
Good.
And then I'm really trying to work on being a better leader for our team.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm trying to be a mentor to all of them.
Yeah.
But recognizing the difference between being a manager and being a leader,
Mm-hmm.
and then creating the space to be a leader instead of a manager is where I'm at right now.
Yeah. I can tell you, we've worked together for a year and a half. Yeah. You are really, you've come really a long way. You were already a good leader, I think. And now I think you are really becoming a great leader. And so I'm super happy with that. So you thought I was going to ask a question. Let's ask that question. Who are you working with now?
We work with really all stages of businesses. We're working in our ongoing day to day. We work with businesses that are scaling from a position of they've got a foundation laid for attracting and converting leads. They've got processes in place. They may or may not have a sales team, but they're trying to grow their business and they want to do it right the first time so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel a second or third time because that's costly. We have some enterprise level clients that they've achieved growth level and now they're scaling. They've locked everything in and now it's just a matter of scale. And then we, on the other end, we have some packages that we work with companies that are really just trying to establish their digital footprint and get their story right.
Nice. How do you help people get their story right?
With story brand methodology. So understanding who they're trying to reach, who is their best customer. And we use AI-driven personas. So we're going to ask for examples of the best customers and sometimes your worst customers if we need to create a negative persona.
Why would someone do that? Tell me why someone would create a negative persona.
Understanding how someone makes decisions through psychographic data and how they process information and how they prefer to receive information, and being able to say, okay, these are your best customers. Let's run that psychographic analysis on all of them and see what they have in common. And then let's take the ones that you're like, please don't give me any more of these. They're terrible for these reasons, and run that same analysis on them and see what they have in common. Sometimes someone being a bad fit customer is situational. But a lot of times we're able to identify this one's situational, but the rest of these have all of this in common in terms of their character traits and how they view the world and process information. And those are hardwired into them. And as long as they're in the decision-making role of that company, they're probably not going to be a good fit.
Good.
And that's we're B2B. So that can be translated into B2C as well, but it's a little simpler on the B2C side, because it's typically very transactional in a shorter sales cycle. And it's more about generating quick responses versus long-term relationship building and nurturing those relationships.
Yeah, that's good. I like that a lot. So
at least from the get-go, you just still have to nurture the relationships with your B2C clients. But that first sale, you don't have to do all of that before the sale. You usually can do it after if your product's good.
Love it. So to those listeners right now who are starting their journey in entrepreneurship, they may not even started their company, or they're just in the beginning, maybe their first year. What advice do you have for those people beginning to make sure that they really win in their first beginning stages?
I think that in those early stages, it's easy to get lost in the weeds of what you do. And I see businesses of all stages making this mistake. I've got a connect call after this with a very large company that is making this mistake.
Yeah.
But most often, your story needs to be clear, and what you think that means as the owner of the business or the working in the business. is not meaningful to your prospects, and it's costing you scale, it's costing you growth, it's costing you leads. So the piece of advice I would give is invest in strategy for your story. Don't try to piecemeal it. The design
Yeah.
can be good enough, but if the messaging is not right, it's a miss.
And you can help people with their messaging, right?
We do that. Yeah. We use the
Yeah.
story brand methodology to,
Mhm.
we call it stories that sell. So we're
Yeah.
creating stories that sell.
Yeah.
But even if you're not interested in working with me, I'm not trying to sell you me right now. I'm
That's
saying
fine.
get your story right. Like
Yeah.
clarity, be clear, because it's not only going to help you attract and convert your customers, but as you hire employees, that's also important that they understand what you do and who you do it for and how it's going to make their life better. And the tighter that is, the easier it is to get from where you are to your first goal and your second goal and beyond.
Yeah, I love it. So now somebody's in the growing stage. So now they've started it, they've got repeatable revenue, they've got a small team. How do they, what's your advice to people who are growing?
That's hard because it's such a wide audience of people we could be talking to.
Yeah.
And that's what we do every day. So my mind immediately goes to, I need to understand more about the specifics of their business to even give a piece of advice that's,
So
but
would that be it? Would it be to find someone that you can get specific advice from that you value, that can ask you those deep, meaningful questions to give you a better plan?
yes, I think I'm going to rephrase my answer to the first question
Yeah.
and then give you your answer to the second. So early stage, accept that it doesn't matter what you like. You're not your customer. Your customer is your
Oh,
customer,
wow.
and you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're putting out there is going to attract and convert the people who you want to pay you to do what it is you do or buy what you sell. I don't care what your favorite color is. I don't care what your mom's name is. No one cares.
That's
If you want to
exactly
make
right.
money, position your brand in a way that will attract your best customers and compel them to take action. And
Yeah.
then as you scale, I'm going to say the second thing is absolutely find somebody to talk to. And if you have employees, make sure that you have core values in place and that you are hiring and firing by them.
Yeah. That's so
That's
good.
Traction 101,
Yeah.
US 101.
I
Like,
love it. If you go back to our early in this interview, the ability to change your mind, she just did that. She just modeled that. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to change my answer. I love that because that's really what we're here to do. So now the last one is scaling. We talked about you've helped people scale. Like, how do you scale a business after your growth stage?
that growth stage should include laying a foundation for gathering actionable data. And
Mm,
if it doesn't, then you're guessing while you scale, and that's risky and dangerous. So you must have real user data to scale. And
mm,
what that means is in that first stage, I said, make sure that your branding and your messaging is about what your customer likes, not you. In order to know that you've hit the nail on the head with that, you have to gather real user data. You have to make sure that your website is a two-way mirror, not a one-way mirror. It can't just be a brochure where people are coming to learn about you. Your website needs to enable you to learn about them.
mm.
So you need that technology in place to gather that data and understand, were your hypotheses about your personas and the way that they make decisions correct? And where were you maybe not correct in those hypotheses, that the heat mapping and the clicks on a certain page, et cetera, this headline versus that headline are a little off and have room for improvement. And then it's just rinse and repeat. It's just figure out what works, understand what's not working. Can you make what's not working work? If not, quit doing it and put your money into the stuff that does work and go from there.
I love that.
But in order to quit doing it, you have to know what's working and what's not working. And that's where I see a lot. That's probably the best answer to where people get stuck.
Yeah.
They don't have the data and they're guessing about decisions that fuel growth. And then they're getting frustrated because they've gone in this direction that they think is going to work and all their research says it's going to work, but they don't know about their business and their audience. So they're guessing and stressing.
Yeah. Facts don't care about feelings, right?
They deserve to grow smarter.
They grow smarter. I like it. Kim, What a pleasure talking to you, sharing your insights. I know that we have a lot of value bombs here. Tell the audience where they can find you.
If you'd like to connect, you can head over to sauceagency.com, and there's a button in the top right-hand corner to book a connect call, and I'm happy to have a conversation. And I'm also on LinkedIn. You can probably find me the easiest way there. I don't remember what my handle is, but just go to our website and there's a LinkedIn link at the bottom, and you can find the company and find the employee
love
list,
it.
and I'm on it.
There's only one Kim Garmon Hummel at Sauce Agency on LinkedIn. You can find it there. Thank you so much, and you have a great day. I really appreciate your time today.